actor, director, and author Eriq La Salle in Wilmington this week, working on a project, and also there's going to be an opportunity for fans to meet him.
Yeah, this is the brand new book, Laws of Wrath, that comes out later this month, and Eriq La Salle has been kind enough to join us in our studio this evening. Eriq, we appreciate you taking the time. You're so busy right now at Under the Dome and directing, taking the time to come in and talk to the folks in of our audience. We appreciate you coming in.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
And so many of our viewers, of course, know you from your role on ER, such a popular character, such a popular TV show. Why make the switch, really, from actor and then start writing books like you have and start going behind the camera as well?
Well, I've actually been directing since 1996, so it's a passion. For me, a lot of people ask, well, why do you do so many different things? But I view it more as an extension of the same thing. I'm a storyteller. And whether I'm an actor, I'm telling a story. Whether I'm directing, I'm telling a story. Now, as an author, I'm telling stories. And so I see them as things that complement each other. And each discipline, you have to respect that medium. But they really complement each other, and you know, I'm in it. I love it. Yeah.
What did you learn from being on one side of the camera on ER that you've taken and made yourself better as a director? Because that was a groundbreaking show in so many ways. Right. The fast pace, the camera always moving. So what did you learn that you've then taken behind the camera?
Well, speaking backwards, addressing what you just said, it's funny because when I direct, in our industry, when you're directing an episode, they time it, and they time it per page. My shows always come in short because it's so fast-paced. So, so I learned that. I learned to keep things moving, to keep tension, so we don't just stop. We're constantly moving, and people are constantly trying to figure something out. And particularly depending on the genre, obviously ER was high stakes. It was emergency. In Under the Dome, with a suspense story, it works that type of pace works very well. In my writing, I do the same thing. Very fast pace. As an actor, you know, one of the things that I have a great reputation for is I speak to actors in a language that, of course, they understand. So I'm an actor's director, and so my shows come in with very strong performances because I'm very performance-oriented. I'm very story-driven. Some directors come in, they just want, you know, all the cool camera moves and the effects and stuff like that, but they don't really deal with the actors. So so actors really respond to that, and I'm proud of, you know, of that legacy and of coming from that type of history.
Yeah, that's neat.
So then you are here, of course, working on Under the Dome. You're directing an episode of the show. Tell us what you can tell us about that episode.
Well, I'm directing the 10th episode. It's 10 out of 13. And this episode is really cool because it does speak to I think some of my strengths. It is very, you know, Under the Dome has so many events, all these crazy, catastrophic events. And the interesting thing about my episode is that it's really character driven. You really get to get some great surprises and learn about relationships and learn about people who they were in the past before they became who they are in the present. So that's something I'm very fascinated by. And then it, of course, climaxes with this really cool event that I can't tell you, sorry. But so it has the action, it has the suspense, but of course, as the season is winding down, the stakes get higher, so the shows get bigger and bigger and bigger, and this is a pretty big episode. But like I said, it has some really cool human moments and great character moments, which is what I love. So
again, going back to the ER, it was so fast paced, but there was that character drive in each one of those characters that you could see. Every once in a while they would go back and show you a little bit about the development of the whole thing, but again, kind of what you, I guess, liked and have carried through into your directing career, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So I just feel that I think as an audience, we don't really care about, we like effects, we like explosions, but I think we're more drawn to those things when people that we care about are in danger from that explosion or from, you know, a horrific accident or something. So I think it has to always start with character, and I always start with character. Now, when you put great things, if you have a serial killer or you have someone killing people that you care about, or you care about the protagonist trying to stop them, you then become more invested. And I think that that's something, I think with the attention span of the world now with all the technology, you still have to hook them emotionally so that they have so many options now of what kind of entertainment they can watch, and it's much more fast-paced. And you know, before there were 3 networks way back in the day, and then there were 4, and now you know it's like there's a gazillion. But I think the way that you keep an audience is you get them invested in characters and you get them invested in your story, so they want to go along on the journey and they want to stay with you on this journey and not turn. So that's something that I do feel is. I think sometimes it's underestimated, particularly in network television. It's just like, let's just give them more, let's just give them more. But give them more of what? You want more substance. And I think that, you know, there are shows that offer that. And I love being a part of those shows, and I love coming in and putting that stamp on it and having fun with the actors. I love actors, I love the crew. So this is you know, me at my best is what because it's what I love doing.
Nice to have Stephen King also giving you material to use, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you met Stephen? Has he been in town?
No.
Okay.
He was here for the first episode because he actually wrote the first episode. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what you know. I don't know what they say again.
Yeah. You're allowed to say
yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was here, but I missed him. So.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to your time in Wilmington, you've been here once before, but it was really a flash. So this is really your first time here.
First time, yes.
Yeah. Tell us how you're liking the port city.
Well, I think that really, I guess it's sad to, you know, I come from Connecticut, New York, LA, so I think it's kind of embarrassing, but you have to remember to speak to people here because people speak to you, you know, and you're like, so, you know.
Southern hospitality, that's what we call it.
Southern hospitality, and and you love it, you know, and the people are very, very warm. I mean, unfortunately, because of my schedule, I haven't been able to venture out as much as I would like to. I fancy myself a foodie, so I love great food. So I've been able to, you know, get out and go to, you know, a few places. But you know, I'm here for another week, so hopefully I get to, you know, venture out a little bit more. But it's, you know, from what I've seen, it's great to be here.
Good deal. And one of the big reasons that another one of the reasons why you're here is this coming Saturday you'll have a book signing for Laws of Wrath.
Yes.
And talking about characters, Fee and Quincy and Clay. I'll tell you what, you delve into some places in some of these characters that are really, really deep. I mean, you get inside these folks. Where does this all come from? Can you tell us the origins of the characters and really all 3 of the books?
Well, the genesis of the first book was called Laws of Depravity. And I got the concept when I read that all of Jesus's disciples were brutally murdered. I didn't know that, and biblical historians list this. It's not in the Bible, but it is a known fact. And so I thought, wow, and they were beheaded, speared, dragged through the streets, really violent deaths, all but except one, which was John, who was put into a vat of boiling oil, but survived and wrote the book of Revelations when he was banished to the Greek island of Patmos. So I thought, you know, the Bible is always such a great source of, you know, inspiration for stories. It's, you know, the greatest story ever told, of course. So I was like, wow, it would be really interesting to come up with a modern-day serial killer who was killing fallen priests in the same manner as the, you know, disciples. So that was the first book. And then I created the protagonists, Fee and Quincy, 2 New York detectives who are, you know, one is Italian and Irish, the other is African American, and they are like brothers, and they are the best, you know, New York detectives. And so the film, the book reads like a film. It feels sort of like it's reminiscent of the movie Seven or Silence of the Lambs. But I believe, again, no matter the genre, and I think this is the mistake that a lot of writers make, no matter the genre, you have to have great characters. And some of the best compliments I've ever gotten with these books are the non-thriller readers, the people that don't normally read thrillers, and they say, you know what, I read this book, I fell in love with your characters so much that I didn't mind going in this dark world because the characters are so, full. And that's how I direct, that's how I act. It's really about, you have to realize that I started in this industry as an actor portraying characters, so I understand how to create dynamic characterization. And that carries across into my directing, that carries across now into my writing. So we've got these fascinating characters, and then we of course make the villain as fascinating as the protagonist, and the protagonist as fascinating as the antagonist. And because sometimes the bad guy is usually the sexiest role, and it kind of overshadows the good guys. And but with my characters, I have them battling their own demons as they are, and there are a lot of metaphors in the book because it is ultimately about the spiritual journey that each character goes on in trying to solve this crime. And the first book, Laws of Depravity, it's sort of in a way like a sort of dark Wizard of Oz, because you have these characters that are missing things. One person doesn't believe, one of the cops doesn't believe in God. One of them, is bitter and angry because they lost a partner. So they have these missing pieces that, as they set out to solve this current crime, they have to find these pieces because they're not whole. And so it comes from a very, it's inspired as sort of a parable, a biblical parable.
Yeah, and you bring Clay in for one character, you bring the brother in for the other.
Right.
So not only are they just kind of background and memory, but they're also playing big roles in the entire story behind this.
Absolutely.
Book.
And so what we have is we establish a character, and originally the concept was that I would do a trilogy.
Right.
But of course, as I started writing, I actually decided that I want to do 5 books.
Oh, okay.
Because this way, each book focuses on from a different character's point of view. So the first book is from Quincy's point of view.
Right.
The second book is through Fee's point of view, and then the third book will be, so on and so on. Right. So, but it gives you a great opportunity to sort of delve into different perspectives, and you have the perspective of an Irish American cop whose brother is a priest, and he's investigating these heinous religious crimes, and he's conflicted about his faith, and he has, at this point he has no faith. So that's the point of view as we're trying to catch that killer. And then the second one, when crime hits close to home, you now have this African American cop whose father was a gangster, back in the day, and now his father is a legitimate politician who runs New York, but he was the Black Godfather back in the 70s, and so this is what informed one of our main characters as to who he is as a man. And so when you put those elements out there, because what happens is it makes your characters unpredictable. Because they're not squeaky clean, they're flawed, they have these insecurities, they have these amazing strengths, but you're not quite sure because you have the son of, think about it, you have a cop who's the son of the Black Godfather. You don't know, and this is a personal case for him. You don't know
which
if
way
he's
going to get pulled.
Exactly,
Right.
and again back to the metaphors here. You have two sides vying for his soul as he's searching for this killer. So it really does get deep. But the thing that I'm convinced of, and the success that we've been having amazing success with this, is that people really appreciate having strong characterization in a thriller, in an action film. I think great characterization makes, no matter what the genre is, I think it elevates the genre, and that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of compliments, there is a huge compliment on the cover of this book. Eriq La Salle's Laws of Wrath is all thriller, no filler, a white-knuckled treat. James Patterson wrote that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great compliment.
That'll make you sit up a little bit straighter.
Yeah.
So tell me about how that came about.
Well, it's funny because we decided that we wanted to get some blurbs from authors. So in going to some of the writing conferences, I'd started relationships with certain authors, and I knew that they would give it to me. That was a shoo-in. You know, we had communication, but when it came time to do it, you know, for various reasons, you know, they were kind of gun shy, whatever. And my Raquel Henderson, who is runs my whole marketing strategy here, and she threw up a Hail Mary, quite honestly. She said, hey, listen, I know someone who works for him or works in his camp, and of course, they're sent hundreds of these books. And so she sent it, totally forgot about it. And so one day she calls me and she says, I can't breathe. I'm going, what's wrong?
You're like, call 911.
Yeah, I'm like, why are you calling me? Like, you know, I'm not a doctor. I played one, but I'm not a doctor, you know? So she's like, I can't breathe. I'm like, what's wrong? Yeah. She says, James Patterson's office just called. He's giving a blurb. I just read it. And so now I'm like hyperventilating. I'm like, and so, but listen, when you are graced by, this is the king of the genre.
Oh, yeah.
This man has sold over 350 million books. I think he knows something about storytelling. So when you have not a master storyteller, but the master storyteller of this genre, to validate your work and to simply say, hey, listen, this is a good read. This is something that even I've written a ton of these things. I got caught up into your characters. I got caught up into your story, and I enjoyed that ride, and so much so that I'm willing to put my name on it because I'm endorsing this and telling other people that they will enjoy this ride. And listen, it doesn't get much better than that. And I'm very thankful to him. I'm very humbled by it. But I mean, we literally, so then when we decide, well, we have to put it on the cover of the book. We have to put it on the cover of the book. I said, listen, not only will we put it on the cover of the book, his name could be much bigger than mine. You know, it's like James Patterson, Eriq La Salle. You know, I don't care.
Likes Eriq.
He liked Eriq La Salle. So, but
what a thrill. That's great. Yeah.
So so then, you know, being down here, we decided to do the book signing.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about it, and and I just, I hope people come out, and I'm probably going to do some reading, and then just kind of have a Q&A and just kind of get to know the people here, and and talk to the people. So it's we're really anticipating it being a really nice event. So come on out. Come on out and get your book signed. It's also, and the great thing is, I think we're pretty smart in how we place it because it's the day before Father's Day, and it's a great Father's Day present to give your dad an autographed book by Eriq La Salle.
It is a cool read.
Why not,
too.
right?
It is a really cool read. I don't want to manipulate your time here, but there are a lot of people who fancy writing a book. There are a lot of people who think, I've got a great story in my mind.
Right.
I really would like to put it down. What was the process like for you? Did you have these characters in your mind? And how did you finally get from here to here to here?
Well, I'm too young a writer, or I'm too young in my writing career I can only say what worked for me. I can't offer people advice and say you should do this. I can only speak to the story. The first story spoke to me so much when the fascination of having a modern day serial killer killing people, because I think some of the keys to a great thriller is how innovative the killings are now. Like, that's why I love Seven. The movie Seven is so cool because it was preaching a sermon, and it had these really cool kills, and so that spoke to me. And as I started delving into that story, I started sort of backwards. I started with the story before I knew the characters. And then I got a sense of the bad guy. I knew I wanted this guy to be on this mission, and so I started, going there. And then slowly, the two protagonists started revealing themselves to me, and it just started growing and growing. And then by the time I had their relationship down, then I started populating it with, for instance, Fee's father and him having a colorful past, and that would affect who Fee is in the present, and how Quincy approaches this case, and then his brother being a priest. And so it really started it was organic for me, but hard to explain because it's not the traditional way that I think people write. But the story so intrigued me. Now the second, Laws of Wrath.
Right.
If we end the first book, this basically picks up 3 weeks after the first book ended. So of course, by the time I'm into the first book, I'm like, let me set up something here.
Yeah,
And this is
that
going to,
line
let me drop this one line, and people are like, and then you get to the end of the book, and it's a page turner, and it's a cliffhanger because you're like, oh my God, and so then when you jump into it, I wanted it to start close enough. So then I started feeling myself. So I started, I'm a writer now. So I started, planting seeds, So I was like, let me do this, let me do that.
That's cool.
And so that's how that came about.
Yeah, that's neat.
How do you find the time, though? How do you find the time to do all that you do?
Well, it's.
When do you squeeze in writing with acting and directing?
Well, I don't sleep a lot. That's trust me. That's I get by on 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So I don't sleep a lot. It depends. When I'm directing, and I'm doing a lot of that now, and I'm going from show to show to show. So the next book is going to be a challenge because I think at some point I'm going to have to sort of turn down directing work and say, hey, listen, I need to get this book out. But it depends. It really depends. I mean, I do some of my best work at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So sometimes I do that before I start my day. But when I'm directing, I really only direct.
Sure.
And the cool thing about these books is they're conceived as the goal was to create a literary franchise that then turned into a cinematic franchise, whether it's film or TV. So the books, a lot of comments that we get is that the books are so visual. Like people can see, the characters jump off the page, and you can really see it. That's why I give a lot of detail about the city and the atmosphere and the characters, because this is, of course, conceived to become a film or television series.
Great.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. We're so
thank
happy
you.
you came in here today. And just a reminder, the book signing is happening at 3 o'clock on Saturday
3
at
to
Barnes &
4:30.
Noble, 3 to 4:30.
In Mayfair.
So you have your chance to meet Eriq La Salle.
Come on out. I'll sign your book. I'll say Happy Father's Day to you.
Yeah, there you go.
And like I said, and then we're going to do, I'll have to go back to the set. They're kind enough to, I'm shooting on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
But they're kind enough to, so I'm going to shoot in the morning, go away for a couple of hours, go do the book signing, and then go back to the studio and continue. But I do want to have an opportunity to talk to people and take some questions and just really understand the community and really get that. So I'm really excited and thank you guys so much for allowing me to come in and talk about this.
This is cool. Laws of Wrath, a new book by Eriq La Salle. What was supposed to be a trilogy is now going to be 5.
Going to be 5.
So we have 3 more after this to look forward to.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.